So, if you look at it from an overall perspective, there is a 35,000 crore increase in the MSP. So that's 35,000 crores more going into the farmer's pocket. And that's from the farmer's perspective. So it's a great thing. So I'll not focus on that part. It's a total of 15% increase that the farmers are getting. But more importantly, if you see which are the crops which has got disproportionate focus, it's crops like oil seeds, crops like pulses, which we have been importing quite significantly. So if this is going to incentivize farmers to grow more oilseeds and more pulses, I think that's going to be very important from a current account deficit perspective, because then we'll be importing less of both of these. We have been importing, in fact, significant amount of pulses from both Canada and Australia, and we know the issues that we're having with Canada. So it also helps from a geopolitical perspective and not just farmers' perspective. Now, coming down to the farmer's perspective, obviously it helps in incentivizing the farmers towards crops which are needed more for the country, rather than just producing crops because there is an MSP and the production machinery keeps going on, and we keep buying those crops and keeping it in silos, and then they start getting wasted, as we have seen in many pictures, where spoiled crops is lying on the television, on the railway platform, and so on and so forth. So this seems to be doing a bit of a balancing act between the kind of crops that needs to be produced. But also, I think we need to step back and look at in which direction the total subsidy is going, and what are the other implications of providing the subsidy. Are we spreading the subsidy across a large number of farmers, or can we also use this money to kind of bring in reforms in farming, so that there is a increased productivity while reducing the number of people engaged in farming? So those are forward-looking issues that needs to be looked at. But I think the way this MSP increase has been structured, it touches on multiple points and not just on helping out the farmers, which is an extremely important point. And also the fact that it sends out a signal that the government is focused on farmers and on, therefore, 60% of the population who continues to need support, especially in this time of transition, when we are moving towards very, very significant climate change. As we can all see, it's impacting us on a day in and day out basis. So if we don't put focus on agriculture at this point in time, we might have food shortages as we move forward. And we are not talking about food shortage just in India, but global food shortages. Yes, undoubtedly so. I think there's a clear signaling that the government is serious when it said it's going to focus for the upliftment of the farmers. It has followed up the words with actual action. Also, as I was mentioning, that along with it, the action is not just random giving out of money and distributed manner, but also using that to channelize the farmers. For example, based on the current MSPs being given, the highest return is for bajra. Now, we know that the bajra is a drought-resistant crop, and that's really what we need. When I was talking about climate change, we need more crops like bajra, and there is a 77% return on bajra now that's happening. So these MSPs are also being used as a tool, not just to uplift the farmers, but also to channelize them to crops that are relevant for the country, which are drought-resistant, and which are really needed by the consumers, rather than just churning out crops for the sake of churning out crops. And I think along with it, we will for surely be seeing many more steps being taken for farmers, because it is not just MSP that is needed for farmers. There is also education, healthcare, and so on and so forth, which needs to be followed up, along with some of the things that Mr. Khan just talked about, where we would need to increase the amount of land that we have for farming, both within the country and outside the country. Some of the issues that Mr. Singh was talking about, which is about ensuring that the money being put in actually reaches the farmers, which is what the farm reform bills were supposed to do. And I hope that those reform bills are again brought back in a manner which is consultative, which is acceptable to everybody, so that we move forward with this agenda, or the promised agenda of being farmer focused, which is really, again, as I said, 60% of the population, and we do need to support them.